Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and as the title of this video suggests, I will not be reviewing these 5 games. Which, granted, seems like a very weird topic for a video, like there's lots and lots and lots of games on this planet that I will not be reviewing, so why am I doing a video of these 5 games that I will not be reviewing? Well, the second part of that is I'm going to be giving away these 5 games. There's still more to why and what's going on and all that, but all of these 5 games I will be giving away. I'll get to that part soon, and of course timestamps to everything down below, and make sure to check the description notes to your eligible giveaways, all that stuff, just in case you want, well, the details that I don't cover in the video itself. But, like I said already, I'm not reviewing these games, I am giving them away. So, what's up? What gives, Alex? Why? And some of these games are pretty good. You see Undaunted Stalingrad over here? This is not a cheap game. Why am I not reviewing, and why is it being given away? What's happening here exactly? These are all review copies sent to me by publishers, with a catch. So, how to structure the things I want to cover today. So, number 1, these are review copies sent to me by publishers. Number 2, these are games I specifically did not commit to playing and reviewing. And that's an important part because I wouldn't simply just not review a game that was sent to me to review that I committed to review, because that seems unethical to do that. I mean, if I checked with the publisher beforehand, that would be a different story, because I'm not against, like, there are some games on my review shelf that has been a while, and I might check with the publisher at some point, like, hey, I don't know if this is ever getting played. Do you want me to send it back, send it on, do a giveaway, those kinds of things. And so if I check with the publisher, it's all a different story. These are games that I never committed to reviewing, and therefore I don't feel the need to check with the publisher. Because sometimes, as a board game reviewer, sometimes games will be sent to me that I didn't ask for, that I have a relationship with the publisher, and they'll be like, hey, here's a new game. Most of the time, I will play and review those games because most games capture my interest enough that I want to at least try it, to check it off my list. In the case of these 5 games, I don't think they're realistically getting tabled, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each game, and a little bit about who it's for, what it does, why you might be interested in it, and then also why I'm not covering it, and why it's moving on. So again, review copies from publishers, review copies I did not commit to. Stalingrad's actually an interesting one in the sense that this one I actually had a conversation. The other 4 were just sent to me. Stalingrad, I actually had a conversation with the publisher, and I said, hey, I can't commit to playing it. I might not, and they said, no, we want you to have it, and so they sent it to me. But specifically, if I get a review copy, and I'm not going to play it, I don't love the idea of just turning around and selling it or trading it for another game. I'd rather in some way still help out the publisher by, hey, this will increase awareness for their games, you win, they win, I get a video out of it. It's a win-win-win kind of situation where I feel like I did something for the game. I didn't benefit from the game as well, because I'm not against benefiting from a game that I, played, reviewed, covered. I don't mind. Like some reviewers, I shouldn't say some. I know one reviewer who won't sell their review copies. There might be more. I don't know. For me, once I play and table a game, I'm not averse to selling it or trading or any of those things. I do give away games too, but I'm not averse to benefiting from a game once I've covered it. I don't love the idea of turning around and selling Undaunted Stalingrad for $100 for a game that I never reviewed or played. I don't love that idea, hence this video. This also, before we dive into the individual games, I should also note, there's often a lot of conversation around, how board game reviewers get free games, and then therefore they're biased. And bias exists in the industry. Make no mistake about it. There is for sure bias left, right, and center. But while bias does exist, and I often say that to me, bias most commonly presents itself for me, in the sense that there are often people who I know directly, who I see at a convention. Just this past week, there was a game I gave a 2.5 out of 5 in a video, and I got a message from the designer of the game on Facebook this week. It was a kind message, but I knew I was friends with the designer on Facebook, and that kind of bias exists. I still gave the game a 2.5, but that's the part that's hard for me. I'm not worried about cutting off a well of free games. I am worried about offending people who I'm close with. So there is bias in the space. But one thing that I always think is almost silly, not totally silly, but almost silly, is the idea that a reviewer will go through all the things they go for, and at the end of it, they get a $30 game. I think that's a crazy concept, or a $40 game, or a $50 game. I think it's a crazy concept because the amount of time that goes into reviewing a game, you would have to be crazy to do it out of anything but the fact that you love doing it. Reviewing games itself is not pay the bills. If you're very, very, very fortunate, which there are channels in the space, myself included, that are fortunate enough that we've seen enough growth that the reviews might, like, if I do a full review, if I do a review of Undaunted Stalingrad, I might get $10 in ad revenue from that. I might. And I also walked away with a $100 game. And yet here I am giving it away instead of playing it because I'm not passionate about playing it. It's not a game that I think I want to play for its own merits, and so I'm not going to do that. I'd rather give it away than get $110 for the amount of time. Again, $10 ad revenue, $100 game, whatever it is. It's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me because games take time to review. Games take time to play. Games take time to film. Games take time to edit the reviews. I barely edit my reviews, and they still take time. It takes time for the thumbnail. It takes time for the timestamps. It takes time to film the video. Every single thing in the process takes time. And if you aren't passionate about what you're doing, you should not do it. I think the idea that people review games so they can get a $30 free game is a silly concept that doesn't have enough merit. I understand that from the audience side, sometimes it can seem that way. And make no mistake, I've said this again and again and again, it is fun to come home and have a package at my door that I didn't expect. It's a review copy of a game. It is fun to open up game boxes all the time and get games. It is absolutely fun. I will not diminish that. I am very appreciative and fortunate that I get to live a life where, I don't get me wrong, I still pay for games, but I do get free games and I like that. But it's not something that is worth the time, effort, energy that goes into reviews, as evidenced by the fact that, again, I'd rather give these away than force myself to play games I'm not specifically interested in playing just so I can get the free game and the ad revenue and all that. Now with that, let's go on and talk about these games. Let's talk about these 5 games. A little bit about each one, because again, I want you to actually be informed. It's not just like a straight up giveaway. I'll talk about the 5 games, and then I'll get into the giveaway details, and hopefully there you have it. That'll be your video. But again, all of these will be given away. So let's go through it. Let's start with Invincible. Invincible from Skybound Games is a 4 to 8 player game, I believe. 4 to 8 player, I think so. Let me see if I can find 4 to 10 player game. It is a hidden role game where players are trying to escape Mars. You can play in the basic simple mode, or you can play with the slightly more advanced mode where you have the superpowers and all that. With what do they say? They have a term like with great power comes great responsibility. I think they actually avoid saying it. That might be, I don't know if it's a copyrighted term, but they kind of imply the terminology. But basically, as a superhero working for the Guardians of the Globe, it's your job to make sure these brave civilians make it home safe and don't doom all of humanity by allowing even a single cichlid to infiltrate the rocket and return to Earth. So you got the little cichlids who are going to try to come back from Mars. That's the basic principle. It's a hidden role game that you're trying to play through. The reason I will not be playing this is because I rarely, games that require a higher player count rarely happen at my table, like games that are in the 4+ range, and when they do, I usually want to play games that I don't get to play enough. So I rarely take on copies of games that ideally work best at 6+ players, because the few times that it happens, I want to have fun. And that sounded so bad. I want to have fun playing known games that I know I like, as opposed to introducing newer games that I don't know if I'll like. The reality of being a content creator is, if you watch the channel, I review games because it's part of my job. Meg reviews games because she's part of the channel. AP will frequently be around reviewing games because he loves playing absolutely anything. But once I move past those 3 people, I have to be very careful of which members of my game group I push a review copy on, because I don't want them to feel like they are being exposed to every single new thing. I want them to enjoy the games they love, and so I'm always mindful of that. That's why this is going, unfortunately, because I just don't think realistically it fits with the types of games I normally review. Even though I think it would be an easy game to learn, to play, and all that, it's just the player count is the blocker for me. As far as if you, we'll do giveaway details separately then. I want to mix it up. This way the timestamps are nice and clean. Dune Arrakis. Dune War for Arrakis, Dawn of the Fremen. This takes place 100 years before the Atreides make their way to Arrakis. So the movie you know and love, the book you know and love, I don't know, I started with the movie. The book you know and love, the movie that followed, the games that are in this universe, this takes place 100 years before that, as the various tribes fight to control the various sietches on the board and all that. This is going to be an area control game, I believe 2 to 4 players, 60 to 90 minutes. General idea of the game is going to be, here, let's go ahead and show you the board over here so you can see the general board. You're going to start with, there's going to be 3 phases of the game. One is going to be like a kind of Risk-like start, where similar to in Risk, you're going to start placing your control around the board, trying to basically place your various units on the board and get that starting control. Then there's going to be an intro round where it's a little dialed back, it's not the full rule set, and then from there you go into cycles of play. So it's going to have that. There is an interesting element where you win either by controlling enough sietches on the board, or if doing the voting phase, all players kind of agree that you're going to win, which I like that a lot as a mechanic. Like if you've ever played Risk, the idea that you have to sit there and suffer through to the end of the game when one player is clearly dominant, you're just waiting for him to scrap the board, and the problem is there's no mechanic in play. So if you sit there at the table and you're like, can we just all agree that Bob wins? I mean, if you say that, that you feel like a sore loser. The fact that this game incorporates that as a mechanic in the game, I think any game that has the possibility for a player to be dominant at a certain point, I think they should include that as a, well, not possibility. If part of the natural process of a game is that a player becomes dominant, I think the game should include a structure where you all get to vote, do you think that it's time to call it? That takes away the responsibility of the player to say it out loud and to be like, I'm the sore loser at the table, and that takes away the responsibility of the player for the person who's winning, because the person who's winning has the same problem. If you're like, guys, I think I'm winning, do you want to call it? You can sound like a jerk. So it really removes that aspect and responsibility from the players, which I appreciate. That's going to be Dune War for Arrakis. As far as why this one isn't getting tabled, I have too many area control games, both that I love and that are in my review queue, that I don't think this one is as likely to get tabled. This one isn't on my radar of games that I'm excited to play. There are many games, well, this one isn't on my radar of games that I'm as excited to play. I think the concept sounds interesting. I just don't know if the sheer amount of games I have, I'm ever going to catch up on anyway. And so when I didn't sign up for this one, I think that's why this one's going. But this is honestly, from all the ones on the table, I'd say this is the one that I'd be most likely to table. This is the one I debated the most. Even though it's not the best rated, it's the one that I think is the easiest for me to table otherwise. War for Chicken Island. This one, it seems like pure chaos. So this is coming to you from Draco Games. It's a 1 to 4 player game. The interesting part is the thing on the box says it's, I believe, 60 to 120 minutes, versus BGG says it's 30 to 240 minutes, and those are very, very different numbers. This is a chaotic war game. It's meant to be super accessible in terms of the rule set, but if you look at the reviews on BGG, it seems like it's also super chaotic, both in terms of possibly being a little more random or light in terms of the way combat resolves, but also in terms of the rules questions that will result when combats happen. And that aspect just makes me a little less interested in it. This Dune War for Arrakis has interesting enough elements that, like, ooh, risk adjacent, let's try it out. Not risk, but like, it has elements and control and all those things. This one, the voting concept, the setup, those all sound appealing. War for Chicken Island, I just don't know if I'm the target audience. It seems to lean more into the zaniness of it and the chaos of it all, while being a little lighter and more accessible for a war game. But that, combined with the length of it, does mean that I'm a little less excited to play this one, and so I just think that this one's not. I don't think I'm the target audience as much. And frankly, even though the box says 60 to 120, the fact that BG says 30 to 240, I am not interested in being trapped into a 4-hour version of this game, 4-hour, play session of this game. Espana 1936 from Devir Games. It hurts to give up this one. Again, one I didn't sign up for, and Devir Games I am usually a huge fan of. Devir, in fact, they often send me games I didn't sign up for, and I'm usually very happy to get them. I like covering most things by Devir. Not every game will land with me, but most of their games I've enjoyed. Some of them I keep, they make them into my collection, others not so much, but I usually enjoy playing their games a lot. This one is one that I'm not excited to play. It has 180-minute playtime. Does the box say that, or does the BG say that? Yeah, the box says that. It's a 2-player game that has 180-minute playtime. The 3-hour 2-player game already makes this one slightly harder to table. When you combine it with the war theme, this is a set in the it's a redoing. There's a word for it. A reenactment of the Spanish Civil War. The goal of the game specifically is to be accessible to both new players to war games as well as established experts of the genre. So it's meant to be trying to be accessible to new players while being engaging enough for advanced players. The board over here, it's gonna like a little Twilight Struggle vibes from it, but very different in terms of the actual gameplay. But yeah, it seems very interesting. It seems very intriguing. The main issue is that historical war games are very, very, very rarely a theme that I enjoy. And while I will give them time here, which we're going to come to over here in a second, which I will give them time occasionally, I rarely give them time if it's a 2-player, 180-minute game. That is not one that pulls me in, unfortunately. And so, as much as I love Devir Games in general, I don't think that just loving the company, or even being semi-intrigued by the concept, is enough to make this a game that I'm going to commit to. And again, reviewing games is hard work. You don't just review a game, you don't just play a game once. You have to learn the game, play the game again. Depending on the game, you get any number of plays in. That's a lot of time to commit to a game that I'm not excited about. And so, I do think you should check this out if you are a fan of this type of game. It's a very popular genre, but I don't think it's for me. And Devir, again, they're a fantastic company, put out tremendous games, well produced. They've really come onto the scene in the past 3-4 years. They've been on the scene for longer, but the past 4 years, I feel has been the rise of Devir, doing a ton of good stuff. And then we have Undaunted Stalingrad, which has a very similar kind of concept as to what's going on with Espana over here. Undaunted Stalingrad is almost certainly the most sought after game on this list. All of these are going to have a degree of everyone wants a free game. It's not about that. But Undaunted Stalingrad is incredibly well rated. It's basically based on the Undaunted system. It's from Osprey Games, from David Thompson and I want to say Trevor Benjamin. Is that what it is? Let me see if I can do it right. David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin. Yes, I got it. I always remember David Thompson. I never remember Trevor. Sorry, Trevor. But anyways, they put out the Undaunted system, which I have played. I've played a few games of the Undaunted system, and it's a system that I enjoy. They're also responsible for War Chest from AEG. They're responsible from a game that may never see the light of day, Dire Alliance or Dire Horror, whatever it is. That's from Blacklist. No idea if that will ever see the day. And they're also responsible for Undaunted Calypso, the space version of this game, which I actually do want to play. Because I meant it when I say that historical war games are not a theme that pulls me in. If anything, it's a theme that pushes me out. I will play a historical war game. I have a few that are amazing. In fact, from David Thompson, possibly from Trevor Benjamin, I have General Orders, a small box game from Osprey as well. That's fantastic. It's a little worker placement game, very tight, amazing experience. I think it's really, really solid. So there are times where I'll play war games and power past the theme, but the key thing is I am powering past the theme. For me, the theme doesn't pull me in, and this specifically is a campaign game in the Undaunted universe. Undaunted series, I should say. It's a campaign game. And so this is not just a game you have to play once, it's a game you have to play and play and play with branching storylines, tons of illustrations, tons of missions to go through, and so I think that's the sheer commitment this takes. And I do like the Undaunted system. I think the little deck building as you try to figure out where to put pressure on certain units and how to make sure you have certain units activating in the game is a very well done system. But again, the war theme has not pulled me into it. I like the system enough that I want to try Calypso, but I don't like the theme enough. It's not such a good system to me. It is well rated. I think there's an 8.6 on BGG, but to me the system is not. I don't find the system engaging enough to power past a theme that I don't care for. And so, Undaunted Stalingrad, I was intrigued by. Like, maybe I should try the campaign game. Maybe I should. Like, this is the one where I at least was willing to take this one on. Like, when they said, I said I can't make guarantees. They said they'll send it to me. And I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's try it out. But that was a year and a half ago. So, I think at this point, it's time to say that I don't think it's still in shrink and everything. I just don't think I am tabling this anytime soon. And I'd rather, help out you, help out them in some other way, as opposed to letting this sit on my shelf forever, or again, just selling it or trading any of that. And so that's going to be Undaunted Stalingrad. And those are the 5 games that I am not covering, and why I'm not covering them, why I'm not reviewing them, why I'm not reviewing them, all of that, which means it's time for the giveaway details. In the comments down below, you can go ahead and pick any one game that you want to win. You have to pick, unfortunately. That's the tricky part. So we're playing a little mini game here. Okay, we're going to gamify this, which I've never actually done, but I think there's value to it. We're going to gamify this situation here in the sense that you get to go ahead and put down a comment for any one game. If you comment for 2 games, then your comment will not be eligible. If I catch you, I have to double check and catch it, but I'm going to try to whatnot. So if you comment for 2 games, you don't get those 2 games. So for instance, to win Undaunted, you have to write Undaunted. You could be clever. You could literally just write Undaunted. And no, don't worry about it. I won't take it personally if you literally just write Undaunted. You're cool. It's fine. I appreciate you being here, watching this video, all of that stuff. For Espana 1936, you have to write 1936. The reason I'm choosing that is because I don't want people agonizing whether you have to get that little thing over the end. So just write 1936. For Invincible, you write Invincible. For War for Chicken Island, you have to write Chicken. Okay, Chicken over there. And then for Dune, War for Arrakis, because it's in big letters, we're going to have you write Arrakis. No, we're going to have you write Dune. Because the tricky part there is I feel people might get caught up on the double R or not. So just Dune is simpler. So Chicken, Dune, Invincible, 1936, Undaunted. Those are the words you have to put down. Again, if you do put down 2 words, either in the same comment or in different comments, I will, assuming I catch it, you will be ineligible for winning. So you kind of have to pick the game you want to win the most. The gamification part of it is I assume Undaunted will be the most sought after. Possibly Espana 1936 will be pretty high on the list. And then I assume the others will be a little lower. They're not as well known. They're not as popular. And so to that end, you are inherently more likely to win a game if you pick one of the other 3. So if you say, you know what, let's go for Invincible. I don't know how many people are going for that. Well, then you might be more likely to win Invincible because maybe there's 7 people who write Invincible as opposed to there might be, 84 who write Undaunted. So feel free to play that little game however you want. As far as other notes that you should know about is 1, free shipping to the US only. International shipping, I will compensate $15. I will pay $15 towards international shipping. If you still choose that you don't want the game, then I will just pay you $15. Okay, so that's going to those are the options. So effectively, because I want you to win something. I don't want you to win and then get nothing. So yeah, I'll still do that. That's what I had a little thought, but I'm still going to do that. So anyway, so I will cover US shipping. International shipping, I will pay $15 towards international shipping. And then if you choose that you don't want the game, I'll just give you $15. And if you're like, well, you shouldn't give up money. No, I'm then going to sell the game. So that's where, like, if you win Undaunted and you choose that the international shipping is like $60, something like that, and you're like, I don't want that, then I'll just give you $15, which is what I would have paid towards shipping, and then I'll sell Undaunted. So on Undaunted, I'll make money. On Invincible, I'll probably lose money. That was my pause. I was like, I'll probably lose money in Invincible. I'm not going to get $15 for this. Probably not. But I'll take that. Again, I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate my subscribers, my viewers, all that. I don't mind if I lose a little money on something else here or there. As far as the other ones, yes, technically I am losing money by paying for shipping on the rest of the games. It's whatever. It's all good. Again, I appreciate all of you being here. It's fine. But then past that, as far as the last thing I'll say is, I will try to comment that you won, but no guarantee that I do. Meaning, effectively, I'm going to announce the winners for this, not the week in review following this video, but the week in review following this video. So check the description for the dates and all that, but whenever this video goes up, not the next Saturday, but the Saturday after is when I'll announce the winners for this video. Make sure to watch that to guarantee, because I usually try to comment, but I do not guarantee that I comment. To a certain extent, I like rewarding people who watch the videos consistently, or at least follow the steps as opposed to just writing comments, so that's the only way to guarantee it. And then as far as people who don't get their games, meaning if you comment and if either no one goes for a game at all for some reason, or if alternatively, if you don't claim your prize or anything, if you don't claim the win, then I'll be giving these away instead to my members over on Ko-Fi and Patreon. They will get whatever games do not get claimed by by whoever wins. If they don't get those, they'll be given away on Patreon and Ko-Fi. I think that is everything you need to know. I feel like it was one other thing I was going to say. Oh, yes. If anyone says you won and wants money from you versus WhatsApp or message you, all that, ignore that. All communication once you win would be from possibly a comment from me on your comment. And outside of that, alex@boardgameco.com through email. That will be the communication for everything else. And that's basically it. That's your details. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, I hope you have a good one.